These are the 5 things that I think can set any vocalist up for success.
Creative Advice with Jay
and Lindsey.
Guys, it's called Creative Advice with Jay, but most of the advice is going to be coming from my friend Lindsey, who I'm honored to have with us here today. She's going to help us know how to sing better. And just so you know a little bit about her, will you tell us your background and what you have done in the past and what you're doing now?
Yes. So my name is Lindsey, and I have been a music teacher for over 10 years. I taught vocals in public schools and also through private instruction for many years now. And so I have worked with vocalists in pretty much any genre and any setting. I've worked with choirs, I've worked with classical vocalists, and I've also worked with a lot of pop artists and more contemporary vocalists. So I've kind of gotten to experience a broad range of different voice styles and learned a lot about different techniques to give students. And so I think we're gonna have some helpful stuff today.
I believe
to give to some vocalists.
So if you were going to give us 5 things, whittle it down to 5 things that we could do today to sing better, whether that's on stage or in the studio, what might those be?
Yep. These are the 5 things that I think can set any vocalist up for success. So the first thing being prep. All the things that you're trying to do before a performance or a recording session. That's going to be things like hydration. The more hydrated that you can be before a big performance or before a recording session is just going to make your instrument in top shape. The obvious things that dehydrate your body are going to be hurtful to your voice. So caffeine, alcohol, things like that. Make sure that you're resting your voice, not over practicing. If it's the day before a big performance that you're going to do, you don't want to practice all day long. Practice to the best of your ability, and then you have to give yourself a break. And then, of course, doing everything you can to prevent yourself from getting sick. Getting sick as a vocalist is hard. It's hard to overcome that. If I have a big performance coming up, I am really careful about being in a big group of people. I'm washing my hands. I'm making sure I'm staying hydrated. All those things work together just to set up your body to do the best job that it can do when it's time to sing.
Let's say maybe you have been sick and you're getting over it and you're dealing with stuff in your throat. What's something you can do to maybe get over that last 5% if you need to sing on something?
So what I would recommend is if you are having active pain in your throat when you vocalize, just singing anything, if there is pain in your throat, I do not recommend pushing through, especially if it's an option to reschedule something or wait. But if you have a cold, if you have sinuses, something like that, and maybe you have some congestion, and when you sing, it doesn't hurt, but maybe it's a little affected by that congestion and the sound. What I would recommend is hot tea with lemon, honey. These are kind of basic things that you hear, but these are actual things that vocalists really use. A warm beverage with honey is just a lubricant for your voice, but it's something natural. What you don't want to use is like a chloroseptic spray, which is numbing. Because, again, if you're feeling that pain, you need to listen to that pain and not just try to numb it to get through.
That's good. That's advice for life.
Yes. Yes, it's true. It's true. So I would say rest, water. If I have to sing and my voice is a little iffy because of a cold, I'm going to be drinking a lot of hot tea with a lot of honey in it, just to really lubricate it as much as possible. And that's really all you can do. That's my best advice for that.
So that's some prep. What's the next thing?
Okay, so the next thing, warm-ups. There are infinite warm-ups out there that you can do. What I learned in my study and also what I tell my students is there's not really right or wrong warm-ups. Okay. You just want to make sure that you are warming up your own voice to prepare for whatever it is you're going to be doing. Okay. And my advice is, if you're singing a song that's maybe in this range, my advice is warm up both over and below the range of whatever it is you're about to sing. Okay. It's kind of like how you don't want to just exercise one muscle if you're working out. You want to have whole body strength.
Okay.
And so you want to build in your warm-ups. Your whole voice is strong and ready to sing.
Okay.
And your middle range will sound better if you have warmed up your full range.
Oh.
And so you might think the highest note I'm going to sing is an E. So I don't need to warm up past that. I would say push it beyond. And then if your really high notes or your really low notes are strong and warmed up, those mid-range notes are going to be even better.
Gotcha.
If I was about to go do a performance right now and I could only do one thing, what I would do is a siren, a really common vocal technique. And it's where you just sort of like make this big sweeping vocalization and you're trying to encompass as many notes as possible. And so it just sounds like this. Woo! That's why it's called a siren. And so the reason that's so effective is it takes your mind out of what you're doing. Instead of singing something, la, 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 you're just woo! And you can hear how loud and energetic my voice is.
Yeah.
If I can be that energetic and confident, that high, I can sing with the same amount of energy and confidence. So if someone was singing, you know, a high pattern, la, 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 I would have them go, woo, la, 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 la,
Oh.
and try to
combining.
connect the energy and the resonance from the siren
Okay.
to what you're actually singing.
Gotcha.
The same can be true if it's a low portion. So if you're singing something really low, you can also do a lower siren. Woo! La, 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 la. I don't have a very low voice, but I live or die by the siren. That's what I always am going to use. That's what I always have my students do.
Live or die by the siren.
Absolutely.
Could be a t-shirt.
Yeah, it should
I
be.
love that.
That would be my t-shirt. Aside from that, the pattern of pitches that you're doing, the syllable that you're singing, ta ta ta, la la la, li li li, those things are kind of not that important.
Okay.
You just need to know and think about, what am I trying to achieve in this warm-up?
Okay.
I have some students that they're singing a song and maybe they're having trouble articulating clearly. So I'm going to have them sing ta 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 ta, something that's really articulate.
Okay.
To warm up that part of their voice. Maybe it's somebody whose vowels are really spread, like eh, and so I'm gonna have them go ah. You want to try to think of warm-ups that are targeting whatever your own specific weaknesses are.
Okay.
And sometimes it's hard to know what those are. So if you're sitting at home and wanting to do some warm-ups and you're not sure what you should be working on, I would say sing every different vowel sound.
Okay.
E, I, ah, o. Cover all the vowels. Make those sound as tall and as nice as they can sound. And then move your warm-ups, again, above what is your comfortable range and all the way down to below.
Okay.
There are plenty of vocal warm-up videos and things online that you can look up and you can just sing right along with it. So you don't even have to be able to play piano to move it up and down. You can follow these things. If you have maybe a softer voice, I would recommend having you sing something really loud. La! Just to like get out of your comfort zone a little bit.
Okay.
Warm-ups are the space where it is safe to practice something in sort of an exaggerated way, so that then you can rein it in when you're really singing and really performing. That is going to give you the best result. So let's talk about posture. The goal in singing posture is that it is straight but relaxed.
Okay.
You don't want to be slouching, but you also don't want to be so rigid that you're standing like a soldier.
Okay.
You need to find that middle ground where your head is lifted, your shoulders are down and back, your sternum is lifted,
Okay.
and then you're relaxed. You need to feel like a sense of looseness in your body as you're singing. And it can feel like those two things are butting up against each other, being straight, but also being relaxed.
Right.
And it just takes a little bit of practice.
Can I try to do that right now?
Yes.
Okay. So this lifted and shoulders.
You want your head to
even
just be, you want your head to be perfectly straight,
Okay.
not looking up
Okay.
and not looking too far down, just perfectly straight. And you want the back of your neck to be straight. Like if you were to feel the back, it's just straight.
Does that look right?
Yep.
Okay. See, this feels like my chin is down.
Maybe come up just a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, just look straight.
Okay.
That's great.
All right.
And so what I would say about your shoulders is most of us, when we're just speaking or in normal life, our shoulders are a little bit rounded and forward. So bring them up and back and just let them fall. Yep. Yep. Watch me do it one time.
Okay.
So if I'm just kind of slouched, I'm going to go up and back.
Okay. I'm going to start slouch.
Yep.
Yeah?
Because if you bring them up and then freeze there, tension everywhere. So it's important to do that step of, and what I have my students do is scrunch up their shoulders and then exhale. That puts you in the right spot right there.
I feel it. Nice.
It's a good little trick. And your sternum, which is this bone right here, is lifted. My old teacher used to say, pretend there's a string connected to it and it's like pulling you up and forward.
Okay.
It's definitely easier to sing when you're standing because sitting automatically just crunches up our posture. So, but if you do need to sit, you need to sit right at the edge of your seat to mimic how it would be feeling to stand as much as possible.
Okay.
It can feel like there are 100 rules that I'm supposed to follow. And so how do I do it all? Repetition of good technique. So like what you just demonstrated where you were thinking about where your head position, you rolled your shoulders back. Okay, if I needed you to do that again, you would do it a little faster because you had practiced and you remembered how it felt. And so good technique, and I'm sure this is true with any instrument, good technique feels good to execute because you can feel, oh, this is what it is supposed to feel like to have the right posture, to have the right hand position on an instrument, whatever it might be. And you notice a difference pretty quickly. And so repetition of good technique over time, it becomes second nature. And what I told you was you want your technique to be mastered so that you can relax in knowing your technique.
Yes.
By the time you get into the studio to record something and you're standing there into the mic and you're about to sing, you want to be able to go through your mental checklist of like, I know what to do. I know how my shoulders should feel. I know how the back of my neck should feel. I know how I should be breathing, which is what we're going to talk about next, so that you can relax into the confident knowledge that you have about your own technique. And that takes seeking out that knowledge and also practicing it. And I would say as a vocalist, one of the best things you can do is practice every single thing that you do in front of a mirror. Because then you really see what's happening.
Yeah.
And all of us have little quirks that we do with our body when we're singing that we don't realize. And that's why, having a voice instructor is really beneficial because they are outside of you and are seeing, oh, you're like lifting your shoulders or you're, all the little quirks that we do. And so looking in the mirror, it's a little strange, but if you really do it, or recording yourself, taking a video of yourself can be really helpful too.
Yeah. Recording a video gives you the added benefit of hearing what you did and if it was good or not.
Yep.
Because when you're in the moment, it can feel good, but until you hear what actually happened without that part of your brain thinking about what you're doing, you don't really know.
Yes. And one thing I've told my students before too is, let's say they're singing a chorus of a song and they're not sure how they want it to sound. I'll say, when you're practicing this, take a video recording and practice it full volume, then do it again 75% volume, then do it again 50% volume.
Okay.
And actually listen back to it. And you might find the best version of this chorus is actually softer than I thought it should be or louder than I thought it should be. But you just can't know unless you receive that feedback. And even if you don't have a coach, you're not going into the studio, even if you're just working by yourself, you can record yourself and experiment with different things, and you can listen and kind of discern what sounds best.
So what else?
Then breathing is the next big thing. I take a really simple approach to it. Your breath is the fuel to singing. And in our everyday lives, when we're speaking, we don't need very much breath just to speak. And so most people, when they're breathing, they take a nice quick little breath, talk, and then that's all you ever need to do.
Okay.
But if you are vocalizing, you need to breathe with a little bit more intentionality than just if you're speaking. And so what you want to avoid, and I see this all the time, is the very shallow breath that bring the shoulders up.
Okay.
And you'll catch yourself and other people doing this once you hear it. If I was singing something, la, 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 that quick breath. And of course, a quick breath is not giving you a lot of fuel to work with. And so if you're singing and you're pretty frequently noticing, I'm running out of breath on a certain note or on a certain passage of a song, or by the time you get to the end of a song, you're winded. That is an indication I'm not properly giving myself enough breath as I go.
Okay.
And so what you don't want to see is the shallow shoulder breath.
Okay.
What you do want to look for and try to create is the full belly breath. You are filling your lungs enough that it is creating a sensation of a full deep breath, and you feel it in your belly and sometimes even in your back.
Okay.
So let's just try this together, just for fun. So let's try taking a really shallow breath.
Okay.
Just, and now memorize how that feels.
Okay.
Now I want you to put one hand on your stomach and one hand on your back.
Okay.
And I want you to push out all your air. And now take a really deep breath in.
Yep.
So how was that a different sensation?
I could feel it all the way down in my back. I feel completely full of air. Yeah.
And that's how you should feel.
Okay.
And another funny thing is that if you are doing really good breathing technique when you're singing, you will actually yawn somewhat frequently because you're getting so much oxygen, and that actually causes you to yawn. So if you're yawning in your practice, it actually means you're getting a good amount of oxygen.
Okay.
So if you're not sure, am I taking good breaths? Put one hand on your belly, one hand on your back, push out all your air, and you really should feel the sensation of your stomach pushing out, which is, a little strange. And it's because when your lungs are fully inflated, it's pushing everything else in your abdomen down. That's why that's happening.
Yeah.
Another practical thing that I see a lot is, let's say you sing verse 1 of a song, and there's 4 bars of instrumental before the next part starts. The singers will just sit there and then you go, and then just wait until the last possible second.
Yeah.
And so I tell my students, if you have a big long break, you need to take advantage of the whole long break and think ahead, give yourself a good 3 or 4 beats of so you're ready. Don't let the next part of the song catch you off guard.
Right.
That will create just an instinctual quick breath that won't give you a really good sound.
And this relates a lot to another thing we were talking about, which is your body needs to feel comfortable to do this well. There's a lot of crossover between mental health and singing in that breathing is a way to use your body to tell your brain that things are okay.
Yes.
So if you've got a break to breathe, not only is it prepping your body and your voice, but you're also, I don't know, maybe it could be an anxious moment as you're waiting for that next part of the song, but it's just a way to kind of reset, like, I know what I'm doing.
Yes.
We're good. We got this.
And singing, for a lot of people, no matter how experienced you are, it can set you into a bit of a fight or flight mode. You're nervous about messing up, especially if there's other people in the room. The more you have an awareness and a mastery of your own body, your own voice, and what proper technique looks and feels like, the more you can balance the nerves with confidence and just, I know what my voice sounds like. I know how to create the best sound, and I'm just going to do what I know I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
But that doesn't just happen without any thought or practice, or it takes work to get to that point. I have found even with the most naturally gifted singers, the technique always pays off in the end. Having that awareness, you might have an amazing natural voice and you don't need to practice at all. That doesn't mean that you can execute every kind of song, every kind of vocal part. There are going to be weaknesses and blind spots and technique and practice, all the things we're discussing. It's just giving you more tools as a singer, which everyone wants. Everyone wants to be able to offer more things as a vocalist.
So what's one more thing?
Okay, so this is kind of the biggest one, probably, and it's actually creating the sound.
Okay.
So let's say you've done all these things. You've prepped, you did a really good warm-up, you checked all your posture, you're feeling really confident about that, you're feeling confident in your breathing, but you go to sing and it still doesn't sound great. You might be thinking, well, I did everything right, so what do I do now? So this goes into a topic that is really huge in the vocal world, and that's resonance. How a sound is traveling out from its source. Okay. If you're playing a cello, the body of the cello is the resonant chamber of the instrument.
Right.
And so if you covered it or filled it with something, it would muffle the sound. In the same way, vocalists unintentionally muffle their own sound by some of the things in their face shape. Okay. And so what you want is when you are singing any song, any style, anything, you want to create within your own mouth the most full resonant chamber that you can. Okay. So let me kind of demonstrate what that looks like. So let's say that I'm singing a note. I've done everything right, and I go to sing, and it sounds like this. E. That doesn't sound good, right? How does that sound to your ears?
Abrasive, nasally.
You know, I could have had proper posture, good breathing, drank a gallon of water right before this, and I could still sound like that. That's because I am not using proper technique to create resonance. Okay. So I'm going to start with that nasally sound, and I'm going to show you how to change that into a more pleasing tone quality. Okay. And it's pretty simple. E.
Yeah.
So what did you see?
It seemed like everything just kind of went forward or open in the front. Yep.
So what I did was singing this E vowel. When I first did it, my face was kind of spread. E, E. And if you think about creating an E in your mouth, your teeth are quite close together. E. Yeah. And so the whole mouth is quite closed, which goes back to it's muffling. Yeah. E. And so if I change the E, and I'm still singing an E vowel, I'm opening my back teeth. And it sounds so jarring, but it's such a subtle difference. Yeah. Any word that you're singing, you could be singing friend. Friend, friend. It could be anything. If your mouth is very closed, if your teeth are very close together, it's going to muffle the sound every time. And this is another thing. You can look in the mirror and you can practice this. E, O. You can practice any vowel, any word, and you can look at what you're doing. And if your face does not look like it is tall and open, it's not going to be a good sound. It just can't, because you're not allowing the sound that you're making and hearing in your head to resonate out and be heard, which is the whole point. And I had a vocal coach years ago tell me it's possible to create a really resonant sound only in your own head. And it could sound really good to you, but it's not translating out. And so that's why having that loose, relaxed, open mouth when you're singing is important. It feels weird. Yeah. It feels strange. And there are certainly going to be words and moments in a song where you have to close your mouth a little bit more than others because you're doing a consonant or whatever. But overall, you need to be thinking open, back teeth apart. And the reason that's so important is because if we were going to be singing, going back to that E vowel, you can't say E with your mouth completely open. It's not possible. But what you can do is you can make your teeth apart in the back. Okay. Or like an ooh is a really good example too. You can't go ooh. You can't do ooh with an open mouth. It's not possible. But what you can do is instead of ooh, ooh, I completely open my mouth even though my lips are still small. Yeah. So having some knowledge about the actual anatomy of what is occurring in your own body is really important. Your teeth being open, your mouth being tall, and that is not just in a classical style, because I think a lot of people think a tall vowel, that's for a classical style. And it's just not true. If you really pay attention to the best vocalists and watch them, especially when they're singing a big high note, something complicated, it's going to be every time. It's going to be that open jaw. And so that's something that everybody can practice. You know, record yourself, look in the mirror, and just experiment.
Yeah.
You know, experiment. Ooh, things like that. You can really hear a difference just in those little tweaks. So those are kind of my best tricks for creating a better vocal quality. And another trick about nasality in the voice, because that's something you hear a lot, is like, oh, your voice is sounding nasal. How do I address that? The really easy trick to tell this is if you're singing something in a very nasal way, if you plug your nose, the sound will stop.
Oh, really?
So like if I was singing it like goes away.
Yeah.
But if I'm singing it and I'm really making the sound come out of my mouth, it's the same.
A lot of pop punk bands that if you put a nose plug on their singer,
they're done.
They'd be in bad shape.
They're done. And you know, with all vocal technique, there are stylistic exceptions.
Sure.
And what I always tell my student is, let's learn it with proper technique first. If you reach a point where you want to make a stylistic choice, that needs to come later. That's my advice.
I was going to ask you because a lot of times when I think about the open sound, it does seem classically trained and it seems like it's only for choir or a certain kind of solo. I know there are a lot of voices that I like where everything's kind of closed, like just how narrow can you keep your mouth the whole time and sing? Like, how do you do that properly?
You know, I think a lot of times with vocalists like that, that is a stylistic choice. My advice is to not lean into bad technique and never learn anything different. But a really good vocalist can do it all, can do all different styles, all different genres, can shift in and out between these different things. You know, a lot of big pop singers right now do sing very small and very softly. But if you listen to their full albums, you're hearing a huge variety. So don't limit yourself to only wanting to be able to do one thing. Even if you want to sing a song that's very quiet, very muffled, and it's that on purpose, that's fine. And that is a stylistic choice. But that needs to be a choice and not
A limitation.
a limitation.
Very
Yes.
good.
And that's why the teeth being a part is so key, because a lot of words and phrases and songs, your lips are quite close together. You know, if you're singing ooh, you can't have like a big classical operatic open mouth to sing an ooh. But there is a difference if you open your mouth and then close your lips. Ooh. So that's where that comes into play. Sometimes your mouth is more open than it appears. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Is there anything else?
I think that's it. That's a lot of information.
Yeah.
If the information seems overwhelming, I would just say, in your own time, just practice and experiment. And instead of just practicing songs, really seek out vocal warm-ups that are going to challenge what you think you can do. And push yourself outside of your comfort zone, whether it's range, style, anything like that. And it's going to improve your ability as a vocalist. If you want to be a great artist or a great studio musician or whatever it might be, as a vocalist, you want to have exercised every part of your voice so that you have the most to offer. So just experiment and have fun with it. Do it when you're by yourself and you can just completely let loose and exaggerate and just have fun. And you might find that you have more chops than you even realize. You just have to take the time to work on that and practice it.
Well, I feel like I've learned a lot.
Good.
And I want to go sing now. And I hope you
Yeah.
guys do too. Lindsey, thank you for being here.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
See you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
Creative advice with Jay.
And Lindsay.